the #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with content@scale.ai.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
I'm Meg. Thank you. And I didn't know I had fans. I am a lifelong vegetarian, and I'm not trying to hijack Brighton SEO to convert everyone to vegetarianism, although that would be really funny. And I'm not doing some weird brag here. I'm telling you this because in 2020, I became a bit of an expert on barbecuing and smoking meat. I've never eaten it, never touched it, never cooked it, but I became a bit of an expert. And to this day, I can still remember all the preferred barbecue and grill brands that are on the market, all the ways that people like to cook meat. And I wonder what I could do with my brain if it wasn't storing that information, but it's still there. And I also became a bit of an expert on doomsday preppers, survivalists. It's a big thing in the US, as well as these little guys, axolotls. You're probably thinking, why are you telling us this? So for context, I was the lead for keyword research and content strategy at an affiliate marketing agency. So we would create articles for these blog posts and their copy, and I would research what they should say. So as a part of that, I was doing a lot of keyword research, and we had our usual keyword research methods and competitor analysis, and it would work most of the time, but it wasn't always accurate. And the thing is, I want to preface everything I'm saying. Data is still #1. The data is still important, and it should be a part of your process, but should it be the be-all and end-all? And I had to question this because keyword research would often leave me feeling really cloudy. I didn't have a clear understanding on my topics. I was spending limited time doing research because I was pumping out this research for clients. So I had limited time, but I didn't have a very good focus. And that focus wasn't, you need that focus, you need that understanding. And also, my slides are moving by themselves. How crazy is that? I don't even need the clicker. But yeah, and I also was assuming I knew who the audience was, and you can't assume that you know your audience. So one thing that maybe was also tripping me up was cognitive bias. I would either know a lot about a topic or I would know nothing, but either way, I was still applying my knowledge, whether it was limited or not, to the keywords that were coming out, to the content that I was seeing from competitors, and using that to make judgments, which we all do it, we're human. And I was also then making assumptions about who the audience were, what age range they might be, whether they're beginners or experts. But also things like diversity can come into this, so ethnicity, that can affect the content that you need to create for your audience. And audiences contain multitudes. Audiences are groups of people, and you can't please everyone. You can't create content for everyone, but you can try to figure out who makes up your audience and create the best content for them. So what I started to think about was, can I take what I learned from my audience and apply it early on in the content strategy phase, even though I have not a lot of time? And so that's what I started to think about. So let's think about that journey we all take from query to answer, that journey that the audience is taking. What's my slides? Where are they going?
Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know I'd done that. How exciting.
I'm just going to fix it. I've swapped to a different laptop, so if you carry on from now, it should be okay.
Oh, okay, amazing, thank you. See, these guys are fantastic. Can we just, give them a little woo, because, because they're saving my life right now and making this make a lot more sense for all of you. Yes, this is the slide to be on. Amazing. Well, I'll click now to, oh, that's the one we want. Yeah, so let's go back to thinking about the journey the audience is taking to get to their answers. And the journey that we want them to come to us, essentially. So we put in a query, and I believe that everything we put into search is a question of some form, whether you're figuring out what the best product to buy is, how to get somewhere, ideas and inspiration, or a literal question, you get to your answer, and that is when the journey ends. So you pop your query in, Google, because it is Google, isn't it? No one's using anything else. Google will either generate an answer, but it will also give the best results for you to find that answer. The person in the audience clicks, well, not you guys, but you know what I mean. They click on one of those results, usually the top 3. They read the article, get their answer, journey ends. They might go back and forth a little bit. So they might go back to Google and put in a different query, or they might try a different, one of the different search results to get the answer. But they get the answer, happy days. But what happens when you don't reach that answer? What happens when Google doesn't give you anything? What happens when you don't find what you need? You reach this dead end. And dead ends happen a lot. I'm sure you've encountered them when you're searching, and you kind of just move on quickly. But they get frustrating when they happen over and over again. And that's why recipe content is frustrating. Recipe content is one that people recognize as frustrating content because they have to spend their time to find the recipe. They then have to find information that's not very accessible because there's that huge story about the grandma and all of her stuff. And then they have to figure out actually if they even want to use that recipe. Maybe they can't buy those ingredients in their local store. And so they've wasted time causing that frustration. And that journey, that frustration, with that dead-end content, it may happen commonly with recipes, but if you have it in your interest or topic that you're researching online a lot, and it happens again and again and again, you're going to stop going to Google because yeah, you get frustrated. So where do they go? Where do these users go? Because they're going somewhere to get that information. According to HubSpot, as we get further down into the generations, more people are going to social media for their answers online. They're also going to places like AI. Not doing AI today, but I'm sure you can catch up on some of the brilliant talks that have been on AI. And so they're going to social media. And I don't know if HubSpot included Reddit as a social media when they did this survey. But there are over 7 million keywords with the term Reddit in them, according to SEMrush. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I'm sure, again, you've been typing on Google, you're putting in a query. Google suggests, occasionally, the same query, but with Reddit at the end. So people have been going to social platforms for these answers for a lot longer than we think. So these are those social platforms, most popular by monthly active user. I have slightly condensed this list because I wanted this to be the places where people might go to get answers. And so these are ones where people might choose to go to. But they're also places where people engage in online communities. Now, in 2019, 76% of internet users said that they participated in an online community. Now, this was before the pandemic. I won't mention it again, I promise. But it's highly likely that when we had to go into lockdown, more people ended up engaging in online communities because, let's face it, we were all feeling a bit lonely, or they couldn't engage in their offline communities. So it's highly likely that they went there, and it's probably, unfortunately I couldn't find stats, so we're just going off what I assume, which maybe is not the best idea, but people probably stayed, right? You probably found a community and you liked it, so you stayed, and you carried on engaging. So with these online communities, these were the top 2 benefits. We have learning something new and ideas and inspiration. Now, why do people go to online communities and offline communities for these things? Well, it actually comes down to EEAT, because you can trust other people in the community. You can guarantee that they're going to have experience. Some of them might have expertise, and some of them might even be authorities. So EEAT is living in these online communities. We just need to access it. So let's have a look at a few social platforms and see how you might be able to access that. Facebook, it's the biggest one, so I had to include it. You can use Facebook for pages, messaging, events, and those are all really good for talking to communities, but where they actually engage with each other is groups. Now, Facebook groups can be set up for multiple different reasons. They can be set up to sell items. They can be set up to literally just share memes, but they can also be set up around an interest, and other people will find those and join those. So with Facebook groups, apparently 1.8 billion people use Facebook groups every month, and 50% of those people are in 5 groups or more. This shocked me when I first read it, and then I actually reflected on my own habits of using Facebook. And I now exclusively use Facebook to keep in touch with the few people who still post, but mainly engage in Facebook groups because I'm able to get answers to questions that I can't get online. And it made me think, is that what other people are doing as well? And just to be sure, I decided to go into a random public Facebook group on axolotls, because we touched on that topic earlier, and people were asking questions. And it was strange. In this Facebook group, maybe because it was public, people were asking questions again and again. There was not very much other social sharing going on. And people were asking really complex questions, also really simple questions, questions that they should probably be able to find answers to online. But as I said before, they've hit a dead end, so they've gone to Facebook. So if I'm creating content and I go into a Facebook group and I look at the questions, if I see the same question over and over again, I would take that as a really good sign to go and look at my content and see if it actually addresses the question, and if it addresses the question in a way that is helpful and accessible to the audience, because sometimes things get hidden. With Facebook groups as well, you can search for a keyword and then you get all of the comments and posts that have that keyword in. It's not the best feature, I'm not going to lie, but it can be helpful if you're trying to enhance your content around a specific keyword to go into the community and see what they're asking. Now let's look at Reddit. Reddit is a huge, huge platform with lots and lots of daily active users and 3.4 million subreddits. Now, if you're not familiar with Reddit and you don't use Reddit, you're not sure what a subreddit is, Reddit's basically a platform where you've got loads and loads of communities, 3.4 million communities, and these are set up by Reddit users for other Reddit users around a particular problem or interest, whether that's a TV show or a pet, whatever it is. So they are set up by the community for the community, and this is really important. That whole idea of it being set up by other people for the same people, but also people take their time out of their day to, for free, admin and moderate these communities means that they're a safe and generally reliable place to go and engage with other people in the community. So I decided to have a look at some subreddits. I chose reptiles. I don't know why, but as you can see, you've got reptiles right over there. And then as we get more niche with the different pets and everything, more people are engaging. We have more in this middle column than we do with just reptiles. So this just is to demonstrate that people, then they want to be engaging with other people who care as much as they do. And then also these, as we talked about Reddit, the Reddit keywords, Reddit ranks for keywords as well. So the reason these Reddits rank for keywords, and they're in the top 10 and they're decent keywords, they're not all just 10 volume and all of that, they are decent keywords, and there's a reason for that, and that is because the answers need to be found somewhere, and that is Reddit in this case. We're going to go into the leopard gecko subreddit. They're so cute. Come on, guys. I know, I chose this, and I thought, what if people hate reptiles? What if there's someone who doesn't like them and doesn't think they're cute? Well, oh well. And people like to share their cute pets. That's one thing that I found on Reddit that was slightly different to Facebook. People like to share their setups and compare because they know other people here care just as much about that as they do. I can guarantee none of you care about that. But the people on the Reddit, they love this. And they're asking questions. Again, questions, questions, questions. And I scrolled for less than 5 minutes and found this question asked so many times. I also found other questions that were being asked again and again. So why Reddit? It is Reddit for a reason, because they know coming to Reddit is where they are going to get that level of expertise, that experience that other people have had, the authority, and they trust each other. Yes, you might occasionally get someone who gives you a bad answer, but generally someone else will come in and correct them. So these questions, again, if you see questions being repeatedly asked on a place like Reddit, go and address your content. Does it actually answer the question? Do you need to add an extra resource? Do you need to create a diagram that maybe helps get a better understanding? Is there more you can do? Looking at the comments is a little extra place to find that golden nugget of information. Now, unfortunately, we are in the midst of a helpful content update. That happened yesterday. If you weren't aware, I'm sorry, but yes, we are in the midst of a helpful content update. And in the guidelines, Google constantly is getting the idea of original information, substantial extra information. interesting information. And that can be really hard to find when content is being pumped out so much by AI. How do you differentiate from your competitors, especially if you're in a competitive area or niche? Well, these comments can be where you find that tiny golden nugget of information that none of your competitors have. And then you can add it into your article, you can expand on it, and that might be one way to get that information. I decided to type in, because we were looking at people who thought their geckos might be underweight or overweight, I put leopard gecko weight into SEMrush. What also happens here is this doesn't give me any context. There's no context onto who my audience is, what they care about, why they care about it, how they speak to each other, the things that concern them within this. This gives me nothing. Scrolling in Reddit for 5 minutes gave me so much more information. This subreddit, now not all of these will have it, but this is a goldmine of information. They had their own wiki. So this is going to be really well-rounded information, again, crafted by people with experience. This is what they think is important. They also point to resources they trust. So if you are thinking about building that element of trust, you want to maybe go to these resources and see why people trust them. This one also had a master list of FAQs. If you ever come across one of these within your topic or whatever it is that you're doing, this is amazing. Because they've set this up because they have had so many people asking these questions to the point where it's probably annoyed them a little bit. So they were like, let's create this resource for them. So this tells me that these are the top queries that they're going to Reddit for. And these are probably places where they're not getting their answers on a blog post or article. So addressing these can be a really good way to take your content up to that next level. You can, of course, put a subreddit into your chosen keyword research tool. This is SEMrush, and see all of the keywords that it ranks for. Some of them are really good, and some of them might just be the long tail where you just chuck in a sentence to answer that question, but it helps you rank instead. Now we're going to have a quick look at TikTok. So the thing with TikTok is obviously you're probably using it for social, but it can be useful to inform your content strategy as well. Because people are more likely to know about a trend if they're on TikTok before it goes any further. If you're not targeting TikTok or using TikTok because you think that your community does not live there, think again, because people from all age groups are on TikTok, and it's really easy to assume, oh no, my audience is older, they're not going to be on TikTok. They probably are. So it's a good place to look if you've already overlooked it at this point. So we're going to look at BookTok. BookTok is a massive, massive community on TikTok. And they have 60,000 global monthly searches for the term BookTok. And Bloomsbury Publishing attributed a massive amount of profit to BookTok in 2021. I want to highlight this because TikTok communities, when they band together, when they get excited about something, it has real-world implications, whether that's a product going viral or people starting a new trend. It really does have actual impact outside of TikTok. So we're going back to leopard geckos, I'm sorry. TikTok has its own search feature, so if you start typing in a keyword and it's got its own search algorithm, it will suggest other things that are being searched. And in a similar way to Google, what this tells me is this is what the community care about. They're going on TikTok to engage with this content for a reason, so this is a really good starting point for me if I'm not sure what to cover on a website or what I'm not sure which of my content might need enhancing. You can also make a huge use of the actual videos themselves. So this one here is a buying guide, essentially. This one is an anti-buying guide, and this is an informational article. So if I can take this information, especially if I'm trying to, I know especially if you're a writer here, you'll know that sometimes you have to write about stuff where you don't have much information. This can be a really good way to at least know the products to avoid, because if you start including those products, you're going to look really silly to the community. And also then know where to start with products, so you're not having to scroll through loads of different products to figure out what to include in your article. And then this can just be a really good way for you to figure out what to include in your article, how you might want to structure that, because someone from the community is essentially telling you that. You can also filter these search results. I think that's really useful if you're using this method a lot because you can get anything you already watched out of there. But you can also filter by like count, which can show you what your community is engaging with. And finally, you've got hashtags. So when you go to post a video, you get the hashtags, and TikTok suggests more hashtags based on the amount of views that they have. So this shows me, again, what my community is engaging with and what they're going to. And even when you get one of these little ones that's only got 6,000 views, that can still be something that's a really useful bit of information to put into an article and maybe get that answer on there that doesn't currently exist online. So what's the point of all of this? I titled my talk, Level Up Your Content by Really Knowing Your Audience, which basically contradicts this quote from Einstein. Any fool can know, the point is to understand. And the reason I still went with no is because it's getting to a level of understanding takes time. It takes energy. It takes a lot of investment. We don't always have that. But we can go from having a very surface level knowledge, a maybe confused knowledge, and go to a deeper knowledge. And we can try to understand what's important to the community. If we're not making decisions by considering what's important to the community first, you're not starting on a good foot. The different groups that make up that community. So as I said before, we can make assumptions, but social media and these online communities can show us exactly who is in the community. You can have a look at the jargon that the community use and how to apply it correctly. It's not just jargon, though. It's the way they speak to each other. Do they have a weird little name that they call their pets, for example? Those little things, if you seed them into your content, you'll build that idea of trust. You can figure out the content that they need, when they need it, how they want it, and why, but also the content that they want. There is a difference. If you can cover both, you are on a really good track. You can understand their pain points, their problems, and their unanswered queries. We've talked a lot about unanswered queries here, so I don't feel the need to expand on that. The trends and new content ideas before they appear on tools. Anything that is on social, especially TikTok, is eventually going to make it to search. If you're covering it from day one, you are basically going to be able to ride that wave. You can sleep soundly at night because you know that you've got EEAT covered because you're taking that experience and that authority and trust from the community, and you can cover topical authority because you're covering a lot of different articles that you maybe wouldn't have covered before, or keywords you wouldn't have covered before within your articles. And finally, you give a better experience for your audience because they influence your content decisions and your content strategy. This is basically a little summary. So if you need that, it's there. And next time you're caught scrolling on TikTok or Reddit at work, you can at least say you learned it at brightonSEO. Thank you so much. You have been wonderful.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.